Are you a firefighter striving for peak performance while battling burnout and stress? Are you seeking practical strategies to manage the demanding challenges of your profession and balance that with a healthy personal lifestyle? Welcome to Priority Traffic Podcast, where we dive into topics that support our growth as humans, improve our wellness and performance as firefighters. We look at wellness and performance through the lens of personal growth, community support, and individual resilience. Whether you're seeking strategies to prevent burnout, tips on building resilience, or methods to enhance recovery and self-care, this podcast is here to provide you with the tools you need to navigate the unique challenges of the firefighter profession. We would love to hear from you on our various social media platforms. Take a moment to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn so that you can stay up to date on our latest episodes, tools, and strategies. If you come across any content that resonates with you, smash the like button and share it with your crew, family, and friends. Your support and feedback matters and helps us reach a wider audience. In addition, we highly encourage you to subscribe to our channels and leave a rating or review. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but also boosts our visibility to like-minded individuals. It's time to prioritize your wellness so you can realize the performance you crave and the performance your community deserves. Enjoy the show. Good morning. Welcome back to Priority Traffic Podcast. I'm your host, Chris. I have Levi Bousquet with me today, and we're going to talk about his 9 alarm company and his brief that he put together that actually protects us from the carcinogens in our gear. Levi, how you doing this morning?
Good. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to get on and talk a little bit about our product and try to get a message across and kind of see where this goes.
Yeah, man. As everybody knows in the audience and you do through our discussions, that my goal here is to bring health and wellness to the forefront of the fire service. And there's a lot of people out there doing that. And one way that I like to do it is focus on what we can do to take care of ourselves. And, you know, being a leader has a lot to do with how well you can lead yourself. And I think making choices that proactively prevent cancer, I think that's probably one of the most wellness-based things we can do. And you guys actually have a product that starts to solve one of those problems for us. Before we dig too deep into the product, I'd like to get to know you, and maybe you can give yourself an introduction to the audience for me.
Yeah, for sure. So a blue-collar kid from Springfield, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess from the earliest point on in my life, my 2 grandfathers had small business owners, and one of them owned a printing shop, and the other owned a junkyard. So typically after Christian school, I get dropped off at the junkyard and just was kind of innovating and, you know, taking things apart, putting things together, and that kind of set the course for just how I would look at problems overall. Mm-hmm. And both of my grandfathers were really, again, good problem solvers, innovators. So that kind of set the stage. A little later on, I kind of had some, I guess, got off track a little bit as a young man, as some of us do.
Yeah.
Kind of dropped, you know. Again, I dropped out of high school and was just kind of on the wrong path, if you will. I ended up getting a job for a company, a printed circuit board company, and started pretty much from the ground up, just operating machines and becoming a lead and a supervisor, and then really just understanding again how everything worked, and actually became a planning engineer. And some of my customers were like Northrop and Hamilton Standard and Lockheed Martin, and I'd have these like PhDs calling me and like, hey, Levi, you know, we got this board we're trying to build, and you know, we need to fit this ground on layer 12, and like, if they only knew, you know, it was like this this, you know, blue collar kid that never really went to school for any of this stuff, but I did it, and I was really good at it.
Yeah.
You know, always problem solving and stuff like that. So getting into the fire service was kind of funny. I had a friend of mine who basically had a red light. He was a call firefighter, and
okay.
He was just going through the academy and stuff like that, the call volunteer academy, and he had a red light in the book on the front seat of his pickup truck. So I'm like, oh, what's that? You know, it's kind of interesting, and So I immediately was kind of hooked, right? So I joined his call department and started doing it, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. You know, I really like this a lot.
How old were
And
you then?
it was about 25. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
And so I went through the call. I ended up getting on that department and actually transitioned to another small department and went through the fire academy, or the call
Okay.
volunteer academy. Yeah, and did all of our, they were very organized. Like each month there was a different topic, and went through all of our Mayday training and all that stuff. And we're about 6 months in, and we had a 50-year flood, of course,
Yeah.
and almost died. Like so I'm like almost
That's
drowned.
not funny, but
First
yeah.
first 6 months in, and
So how does that happen? Can you tell me about that story?
yeah, so we in the town I was in, it's kind of it's below sea level, and it's kind of like a soup bowl type of thing. So we're evacuating houses along the lowest lying areas,
Sure.
kind of along a stream. But at the time, it was like a river coming kind of through the center of town.
Right.
So lieutenant, we had like it was a full callback, so there was a bunch of firefighters in the station, and the lieutenant at the time just picked me and actually the buddy that I had got on the department with. We had two Canadian French guys, just kind of whatever, kind of blue collar kids who were just tough kids, and
Yeah.
so he's
Doing
like
a
picked
job.
us, and honestly, I think if he would have picked anybody else, then I don't know if it would have worked out as the same way. But so we go off in the engine, and we station on kind of a high side of that little stream, crossed over a bridge and started evacuating some houses.
Okay.
And my lieutenant's radio died. He's like, "Hey, go grab me another radio." I'm like, "All right," so heading back, kind of over the driveway, and back over the bridge. And at that time, the water was up to my waist now, from my ankles. Now it's going over the bridge, and it's up to my waist.
Oh man, that's
So
quite a change.
Yeah. So I go over to the driver, the operator, and I'm like, "Hey, I just need another radio, whatever." Grab the radio and head back, and it's again up to my waist, and it's like ripping over this bridge. I'm like, "Oh shit, we got to get out of here. I'm
Right.
gonna die right now." It was pitch black, 'cause of course that's at night. Can't really
Of
see
course.
anything. So I get back with my team, and I'm like, it's super bad. Like it's all the way up to my waist. Like we gotta get out of here.
Right.
So Lieutenant was like, all right, let's kind of hug the tree line here and get back to the road, and we'll meet up with the engine on the other. So we'll have them come around. There's another area where we're able to get around. It'll pick us up on the high side, and so we called over the engine. They repositioned the truck, and as we're kind of walking along the tree line, kind of almost arm in arm, we step off the driveway into a 6-foot culvert.
Oh
And
gosh.
Lieutenant was first, I was next, and my buddy was right behind me, and he immediately went under the water, and I'm
Right.
like teeter-tottering inside like the center of the culvert. It's like a 6-foot culvert that went under the driveway, and my buddy's right behind me, and I was in shock. I was like, holy shit, I'm literally gonna die right now. Like if I go under here, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was this water flowing pretty
wild.
quick?
Yeah, because it was almost like, again, it was on a soup bowl, so like this on both sides of the road is like road like hillsides, right? The road's kind of
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
carries all that water. It's just amazing how fast water, the force of water.
Yeah.
So it's just coming down like we were just right in the middle of it, and then it was just going down, down the stream, which was again like almost like a river. So my buddy's like, he starts screaming, like, "Where's Jacobs? Where's Jacobs?" And I was just like, snapped out of it, and I'm like, "Holy shit! Like, what's going on?"
Right.
And I started like kicking my feet, and we're all in full turnout gear, which I would not advise wearing any turnout gear if you're doing any water rescue, which is probably an NFPA standard somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I kicked him in the back, like in the back of the head. So
Oh wow.
yeah, and I'm like one arm is like rested up on the driveway, and he's down under the on this culvert, like literally hanging on the side of it.
Yeah.
And I grabbed the back of his coat, and just I don't just the adrenaline that was just like pumping through my veins. I just picked him up out of the water with all that force, and just sat him kind of like on my arm like that. And this is a 200-pound, maybe a little bit more, guy with all of his turnout gear. I'm just holding him. I'm like, all right, you got to get us out of here. I'm gonna die, you know.
No
So
doubt.
I ended up getting out. That was kind of like my first real glimpse into like, yeah, it was like cool. That we'll go do the training and do this and do that, but never really did any firefighting practice. Been in a fire or water rescue or anything like that. And I got home and sat on the couch. I'm like, what the hell just happened? And I'm like, wow, man, this is for me. This is for me.
This is the right place to be.
This is the right place for me, and this is going to help me get, and it really did. Over the years, I just became a student for the fire service, and I try to learn as much as I could. One thing with me is once I get on a mission, I just want to go as far as you can, and if there's any competition along the way, I want to be first. I'm going to try as hard as I can be first. If I'm not first, you're going to know I was there and I was close second. I was super competitive when it comes to that stuff. So I did all the fire academy class. I actually just finished up Fire Officer 3 up here as well. So I'm still taking classes, still doing all that. And it set a pathway, and I love how that works in the fire service. You start out from the lowest person, the newest person, and before you know it, you're training the next person in line. And then you're becoming the officer, and you're becoming the deputy chief and the chief, and it just works, top to bottom down, bottom up, and I think everybody has a piece and fills in those roles, and I think it's a great service, and I think it helps a lot of people, especially like me, because again, I just didn't have direction. I guess when I was growing up, parents were divorced, and there's a lot of trauma and generational trauma through that, but this really gave me that focus. So kind of getting back to how I got into understanding health and wellness and getting into the 9-alarm business, really I continue obviously working for that company and being innovative and creative for some of the boards that we built were for like F-22, F-30, when those programs are just coming out. So they're developing these radar systems, and they basically would say, all right, Levi, here's the specs. You're going to work with this engineering group and figure out how to get it through the shop and figure out how to do all this stuff. And some of these programs are like, well, by the time the board was done, I mean, it could be $5 to $10 million programs.
Holy smokes.
And in a larger scale, probably even bigger than that. So I was like given this responsibility, and I just excel with that. I love that. I get that responsibility and stuff like that, and it's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's like, I don't know. It's almost like you're not given those opportunities, but you can achieve and do, and then once you get it, you're like, I'm gonna give it 110%. Again, that's kind of my mentality.
You just need the shot.
Exactly. Give me the shot, and I'll show you I can do it.
Yeah, I like that.
Exactly. So, and again, kind of the same thing. Getting back to the 9-alarm. So I kind of in 2014 there was the Back Bay fire in Boston, and I kind of a little bit before that. So I worked my way up to a lieutenant, and I was a captain of my call department, and so I took a contingency to the services after the Back Bay fire for those 2 firefighters. And one of
so
them
do you
was,
mind if we dig into that Back Bay fire a little bit?
Yeah,
for
sure.
I know you were good friends with some of those guys. So 2014, right?
Yeah.
The Back Bay, right? 2014.
Yeah, 2014. Yep.
So
they had I think it was a 4 or 5 story brick right on the Charles River.
Yep.
Trying to remember the kind of like the a lot of the specifics behind that fire, but they basically had a hot work permit, a non-permitted hot works, and somebody was doing some kind of cutting or welding, I think, in the basement or in like a walkout basement type of thing.
Yeah, it was on the Charlie side.
Yeah, the
By
Charlie
like
side,
a neighboring garage, somehow.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
And obviously started the fire in the basement there. Let's see, so, engine 33, ladder 15, I think, are at Beacon Street. They're right on
Yep.
right on Beacon Street there. So they were there pretty quick.
Yeah.
And there was I guess there was some mixed companies, like obviously that happens a lot with us, as you know, wherever we're assigned here, we got overtime there,
Yeah.
whatever. So a little bit of mixed company or something like that.
Yeah, daily promotions and such.
Exactly. So they end up, let's see, Mike Kennedy and Eddie Walsh.
Yep. So Lieutenant Ed Walsh and firefighter Michael Kennedy.
Yep. They ended up getting that first line into the door.
Yep.
And the fire was obviously in the basement, and if you know the kind of 4-story bricks, especially in Boston, they're kind of as soon as you open the door, there's this. A lot of times there's a staircase that goes right down into the basement, lower levels. So yeah, they got the line down there, and in the meantime, like general operational strategies in Boston is you're opening up, you're getting figuring out where the victims are. There's a lot of things going on, as a lot of us do, the strategies and tactics, as whatever that, whether it be actual battalion chief or whatever, setting those things, or this is what we do on this type of incident.
Sure.
And a lot of, obviously with it's more or less a wind-driven fire, so obviously a lot of compounding factors, but ended up getting trapped down there with the hose line burning through, and tragically lost their life. So I wasn't friends with them. I do have some kind of acquaintances at this point, years later. One most specifically is Kathy Crosby Bell, who is the founder of the Last Call Foundation, who's been a kind of a sponsor and champion for us, as we try to be for them as well. So that's that really set the stage for me. And you think of like coincidence in your life. I feel like my whole life is coincidence, really, from the start.
Right.
Literally from the start. So I took that.
Some people call that fate.
Yeah, fate. Yeah, I know. I don't know if that's what it is. It really feels like that sometimes. But at times when you get in those lulls, you're like, maybe this. What am I doing here? Why am I doing? So you get a little burnout, I guess you would maybe call it. So I was so compelled, actually, because I think that was the first time you really could listen to the audio traffic, and it was almost like as it was happening. I don't know if you remember that or not, but it was like, oh my god, like you just wanted to, like, you're thinking like in your do this, or let's help these guys out, figure this out, what's happening, you're like so into it. I remember sitting at my desk at work, and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe we can listen to it almost like as it was happening. Actually, it was as it was happening. Yeah,
while it was live.
Yeah, that's and wild. You just felt like you were there. And as firefighters, you can almost envision exactly what was happening at that time.
It like amps you up. Like you can feel it.
You can feel it. Exactly.
After you and I had talked last time, I went to work, and my crew and we sat down and kind of did research on this. And so what I'll do is I'll post some links in the show notes to some reviews of the fire and the live audio traffic. So anybody that's interested can check out the Back Bay fire, and it's definitely something worth investigating and learning from, because we lost 2 excellent members in the fire service. So take some time and watch the videos and research it. But you're right, you can feel that when you listen to the audio. It starts to amp you up. Like you can feel your body changing, and it's really, really strange.
I just got a little bit of chills right now thinking about it. And I can't believe, as you were just saying that, I'm like, I can't believe it's been 10 years already. So how
Yeah.
much are we reviewing those fires? Are we still looking and making sure that we understand what happened there and learn? And that's really what's the biggest thing. How can we honor our brothers and sisters that have
Right.
lost their lives the most is learning by what happened and how can we try to prevent that from happening again. And that's a perfect
100%.
example. Yeah, and Kathy again has done a lot of work with testing hose and
Okay.
making sure that they're, and I know that actually I think all the frontline engines in Boston now have. I wish I could. I probably should have prepared myself a little bit more. I know the
No,
first
it's all right.
200 feet has tempered hose because
Okay.
yeah, and I forget what type of hose it is. Maybe we can look it up and just post it in the chat or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, she's done a lot of work with that, and again, that's just kind of just plays into that. How can we prevent this from happening again? But yeah, it's like that was 10 years ago already. Like holy crap. So, anyways, I went back to my call department and I was like, I really want to put a contingency together. We're going to go to Boston. We're going to go to the services. We're about an hour and a half from Boston. So we had like 5 or 6 members, and we went out there, and I tell you, it was I've been to a few line of duty services, and this one just was something I'll never forget. I mean, there was brothers and sisters on top of rooftops,
Oh wow.
saluting like 12,000 people lined up. I mean, it was amazing, and I was part of that lineup contingency as the procession came by,
Yeah.
and after just being part of everything else leading up to that as they were heading to the cemetery or whatever, and Eddie Walsh's family and his daughter was in the one of the limousines, and she had her like little bear in the window, and I'm standing there at attention. It was kind of like tears rolling down my cheek, and you're trying to look forward, but I kind of looked down at her, and we kind of made that eye contact, and it was like it just planted a seed in my heart. I'm like, I want to do this full time. This has been a passion. It's got me to this point. It's really gave me a path, and so I later on that year I applied for a full-time position in a kind of a medium, I would say probably overall like a smaller department, but it's next to Worcester.
Okay.
It's called the name of the town is Southbridge, and they're known to be a very good aggressive fire department, and it's our District 7. There's a lot of work actually in District 7. Actually, this last month they probably had like 4 or 5 fires. So,
Oh wow.
they're very very busy. Good, just band of brothers. My heart will always be in Southbridge. It was just a lot of fun. My group, it was all guys that were 38 at the time. They're like 35 to 38, so we're all like in the same age, because that's when I started actually full time.
Okay.
I was 35, I believe.
Nice. Heck yeah.
So yeah, it was a great, it was a great ride over there, so I immediately was like going to the district meetings, the union meetings. So I became a union member, and just really getting my feet on the ground and just enjoying my job. I literally love my job. Every morning I'd be out there, because I've spent 20 years in the private sector, so I kind of knew like a lot of life experience. I guess that's one thing if I could pass on or whatever. It's like I have a ton of life experience. I've been in the workforce for like 33 years at this point.
Right. That's something a lot of people don't get when they come to the fire service. Like there's a lot of people are coming in early in life, right? 20s, early 20s, maybe late teens to mid 30s.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
You don't always have a lot of experience with stuff moving into the fire service, because it's quite the array of skills that you actually need to function daily.
Oh yeah. And that's a great point too, because if I step back to when I dropped out of high school, I was working construction and roofing. So I literally, and the guy I worked for, like, we would carry 18 square. Like I was a bull, like literally a bull. Like
Yeah.
I'd carry shingles, like to the highest peaks, and like there was no safety equipment back then. We were hanging off
Right.
the side of a roof of 3, 4 stories up, you know. So and it was all like like again, me and my brother, we worked together, and we were just bulls, that laid
Nice.
the groundwork because I am so confident with my ladders, being on roofs, and that life that like you can't buy that experience from if you look at again generations now getting another job, they don't have any construction, and I won't say all right. So I know there are some there's the select few, if you will, that get on there that have some of that construction or whatever experience. But having that in my background, like I'm so like confident with ladders and being on a
Yeah.
roof and saws and stuff like that. I mean, obviously it wasn't great back then because it kind of took me 10 years to get where I needed to be, and now I have my
Sure.
bachelor's degree and all that stuff. But I mean, I guess I wouldn't change anything because it really led me to where I am now.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you feel like your life's one big coincidence sometimes, and just
For
listening
sure.
to you speak about the past and where you are today, it's like, well, it kind of looks like everything fits for
Yeah.
a purpose. And I believe in a higher power and all that stuff, but having purpose and having a path,
Yeah.
like we've discussed that on the podcast before, and I think that's one of the key elements that most firefighters need to help stave off that burnout and then it
For sure.
protects their resilience, or it builds their resilience when you have a purpose like you do, and being able to build on skills that you've learned outside of the fire service is super important, because like I said, a lot of people that are coming to our department aren't coming with a lot of that variety of skills, right? Some people have never put a ladder to a home and got on the roof
Right.
ever,
Exactly.
right? Or used a hammer and a nail. And maybe that's a little bit dramatic, but I think there's a lot of that right now with the generation that's coming into the fire service. So we have to take our skills. You have skills
Right.
outside the fire service that really correlate to what our job entails, getting on roofs with heavy equipment in pressure situations. And now you have an opportunity to really
Exactly.
show, hey kids, I've done it the wrong way, and here's the way we're going to do it today, right?
Yeah.
So
And I think that's a great point too. Is how do we get those generations, those firefighters, where we need them to be?
right.
Because we don't do fires all the time. We don't get those experiences. So
Right.
we can train all we want, but and actually I did a sometimes I get a little off track. So hopefully it'll all mend together.
Nah.
But I'll get
You're
a
good.
thought. Yeah. So I just
like
like
it,
to
buddy.
I like to tie everything in. So I went to the 9 Alarm business sponsored an event in Providence. So it's the Safety and Survival conference. Great
Okay.
event. We had our booth there and had a lot of good conversations. But one of the guest speakers was a captain out of New Hampshire, and I'll probably bastardize his name. I think it's Desero.
Okay.
Who I don't know if you've probably or maybe aware last year, a year and a half ago, there was they had a fire in a triple decker where he was basically got caught on top of a ladder and was like a marshmallow, got seriously
Oh,
injured.
gosh.
Yeah. So again, when we talk about like putting ladders up and stuff like that, like they're very experienced firefighters. They do
Sure.
significant amount of work up in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it was again pitch black, so he couldn't see anything. Throwing the ladders up, they knew he was up there somewhere, but he was kind of doing a in front of the hose line search because they knew there was victims on the third floor. Got to the victims, and they actually had to go out to the rear porches, which is like an open porch, but they had like it kind of like enclosed on the outsides or whatever. But it was like a pretty big porch. It was like I think he said like a 10 to 12 foot porch. So made eye contact and communicated with somebody, but just think of like this thing's chugging along, like it's ready to flash over.
Okay.
So they brought the ladders to where they last seen him, but then so he went back to the victims to try to get them to the back porches, but found that he just couldn't. He just had two victims, So it got to a window and made um, contact with somebody outside the window. Literally smoke like billowing out. They threw the ladder up, not knowing that the rung went into the window by like 12 to 14 inches. He said. So
Okay.
so he got to the window and was trying to get his victims up and get himself up onto the ladder, and the ladder was in the window. So
Oh, it was like protruding into the
protruding
structure.
into
Okay.
into the structure, and not the fault of anybody
Wow.
on the ground. Like they just couldn't
Sure.
see. They didn't know it was they're trying to get it. This is a rapid thing, right?
Hmm.
So he got one victim up onto the ladder and they were able to get him off. Tried to get the second victim up onto the ladder as well, and just wasn't able to do it. The room was ready to flash. It was like super heated.
Oh gosh.
So he like tried to, like, as he was like getting up onto the ladder, like throwing himself up onto the ladder, which must have been hard. And that he had the victim in his hand, and it just
Yeah.
he dropped her like there was nothing he could do. He did everything he could do, but in doing that, going up over the ladder like that, he got his ladder, the ladder belt or waist strap on his SCBA caught in the ladder and just like literally upside down, burning up on top of on top of the ladder. So they're
Oh, that's awful.
scurrying, and then it flashed over, so that he's literally getting cooked up there. He said he just saw a white, and it was just like, I'm just writing myself off now. I'm just the pain almost stopped because it was like it just
Right.
you just kind of like
Your brain does something there.
Your brain does something, yeah, and I can relate to that with my experience when I was like dying. I wasn't in pain, but it's like you're just like you see your life kind of passing by. You're like, holy shit, this is happening.
Yeah.
And actually, it was a bystander, and then one of the guys from the engine, I believe, that literally had to pull the engine out and drop him down. I pulled the ladder out and dropped him down. That way, we weren't even to lower him down or unhook him or anything like that. They had to pull the ladder out so he fell on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
But in a situation like that, some of our young firefighters, are they going to be able to, one, recognize that we have, if it's a two-story building or whatever, when you typically throw your ladders and how many rungs, just like all that foundational stuff and throwing ladders, and if you're doing a single man throw, you don't need to, if you throw it to the bed section or the fly section, like for a rescue situation, I guess just putting all that stuff together.
Yeah. A lot of nuance.
Training, yeah, the training and fundamentals is great, but what do you do in a situation where it's life or death? I guess is the whole point of that.
Yeah,
that
the
example,
training.
I guess,
No, the training. I mean, you're right though. Without the experience, like I think it's probably. I can speak from my experience, but the number of fires we're getting is less and less, right? So, we have people coming in the fire service with maybe 1 or 2 fires in a year, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah.
training in real life fireground, like they're similar, but they're not the same,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And the stress of the fireground does something to you that you can't even replicate in training. No matter if you get on the assault bike or you get on the rowing machine, like it's not the same. Like you can get out of breath and get your heart rate up to 150 or 160, but being stressed out and then working out, those are not the same while operating in the fireground.
And I would think that it really comes down to your life and your victim's life. So it's that whole risk a lot,
Right.
save a lot type of thing. I mean, that's really where you can't mimic that. Like you said,
No,
the
you can't.
training. I mean, some of these trainings do a really good job. And
Sure. Sure.
There's many of them out there. Some that I would probably stay away from, but there's many out there that really try to simulate down to but you can't mimic the life aspect, whether you're saving
Right.
somebody's life or you're risking your own. And those two things, again, people that have been in those situations or been in a lot of fires understand that a little bit more than some of the newer firefighters. But for them, I would just say that that is what it is, and you're going to have to keep that in your back of your mind that I'm going to get in these situations where I may not be fully prepared. So having those skills, those basic and fundamentals sharp, and knowing what the basics is going to help you out a lot, because they're going to happen. You're going to be in that situation.
Right.
throughout your course of your career, whether it's 1 or if it's 10, you're gonna be tested. In life,
You'll be called
generally,
upon for sure.
you're gonna be called upon. You know what I mean? You sign this on the dotted line. You want to do this job, so you're gonna be called upon. And that maybe that's the that if you're a paramedic, firefighter paramedic, it's that one cardiac arrest, and whatever it is, you're gonna be called upon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, getting back to getting on that full time department, it was the best experience of my life. I loved it. I was just like on the apron every morning, sweeping, making sure all the. I mean, it's just like I know what the alternative is. And I love being here, and that's I try to mimic that even to the today. But I was going to the.
I like that you say that you know the alternative because you had spent enough time in the other sector to appreciate what you're doing in the fire service. So I think that's really neat.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, so I was just looking at the IAFF Facebook page yesterday, and they were talking about Social Security, and I was like, hey, I got all of my quarters, and I earned them all. So if you go, like General President Kelly, I really hope that we can get our, because there's a lot of people that work the second job and do whatever, earn all their quarters. Why should we be penalized? We pay into it just like everybody else. So exactly. I thought that was really cool. But anyway, so yeah, I got all my quarters before I came into the fire service, and and that really laid that experience and everything really laid the groundwork to and I hate to like think of myself any better than any other person, but I just if I'm a little bit more experienced, as somebody that people can come to and say, hey, I think you might be able to help me out here, or lead me, do the training or whatever it is. Like I'm always willing to, hopefully give my experiences and help train and do some things. And I think I come up with some pretty unique ideas and things to that nature. So anyways, we're getting
You're
back
exactly
to
where you need to be, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say life has put you in exactly the space you need to be. So I did have a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
So we started talking about the Back Bay fire and how that led to your company.
Yeah.
And so now we have 9 Alarm, right? So that's the name of your company.
Yep.
And that kind of was attributed to the fact that the Back Bay fire had gone to 9 alarms that day.
Oh, was yeah. So I was because I was trying to come up with a name, and it really, I guess at that point it did have some correlation, but it's so weird how everything kind of transpired. But so I was like, the name of the company, I'm like, I really want it to be something that's that people can relate to and stuff like that. And then again, coming in was the because I really at that point didn't know that I was going to do it. You know what I mean? So and I didn't have any contact with the Last Call Foundation until later on. And obviously that the fire happened and stuff like that. So I ended up kind of being a little bit of a coincidence, but kind of correlated as well. But so I started going to the district meetings in our as a union member, and I was kind of like totally like set back and just didn't really understood how much of a problem cancer was.
Right.
Every month that we would go to these district meetings, a hat would go around. That's like the first thing that we did. The meeting, the organizers did, is pass a hat around for the guy or girl or whatever that got cancer that month. It was like every month there was two hats going around. I'm like, oh, geez. This is one district, and that's what I do, right? So I'll see what's happening, and I'll put that in a bigger picture, and just kind of like my mind just goes and goes and goes, right? So I'm like, this one district, one state, one. I'm like, wow, this is huge. This is crazy. And at that point, I've been in the fire service for maybe 10 or 12 years, like as a call firefighter. I was doing the trainings, I was scheduling and putting together trainings in my call department and all that stuff. And I understood, we want try to minimize our risk and stuff like that. But nobody in our call department had, whatever. So this was like that's when the juices started flowing, right? So I'm like, this is a problem. Like, and whenever I get a problem, I'm like, I want to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I started kind of like doing the research, and I think the University of Arizona, and there was a few others that had just started, and this is 2015, 2016, just really kind of started ramping up. Like
Sure.
The particulate hoods just started coming out, and like the NFPA standard, it really actually didn't change until 2018 when they put it in there for the particulate blocker and all that stuff. So like it was like we were just kind of getting into like where identifying the problem, skin absorption and inhalation and all the like how everything is kind of compounding, and then we started learning about PFAS, another like actually she's probably the pioneer for the whole movement. Her name is Diane Cotter. And it was kind of like we were kind of working in parallel. It's funny, like because right around 2015 or so, I think her husband, Paul, who was a Worcester lieutenant, got diagnosed with I believe it was prostate cancer.
Okay.
And Diane was like, "This is something's just not natural here. Something's just not right. I think it's attributed to your what you're doing, and we need to figure out why. I don't want this to happen to anybody else." And she really took that and really drove the bus to get PFAS out of our gear, which is happening now. We can thank her for that, really. And we were kind of working in parallel. We ended up kind of talking on. Actually, I had a Facebook group, and she had hopped on there and was posting some stuff. So we started talking and stuff like that. And I mean, let me precursor just a little bit before that.
Sure.
So I was going to the union meetings, and I'm trying to identify this problem, and I'm like, how can we fix it? I did a little research, found that skin absorption was something that really hadn't been addressed as specifically in the groin. So the groin is a whether it's male anatomy or female anatomy, is such a area of concern, especially with firefighting, because for every 5 degrees of core body elevation, temperature elevation, and especially when we're in our gear, we're always elevating our temperatures.
Right.
The skin like normal dermal skin will absorb at like 50 to 60 times, up to like, depending, like 100 times. Don't hold me to those specific numbers.
No.
But in the groin, especially the scrotum, we can be up to like 1,200 times. It's like 50 times of normal skin. I'm sorry. So we at 55 degrees of core body elevation, it's 1 to 200 times absorption rate of regular dermal skin, and we can be up to put a 50 factor on like the scrotal skin.
So it's even higher. Like when our temperature goes up, the amount we can absorb goes through the roof.
Literally through the roof. Anything, and it's so important to, anything we could do to reduce the amount of particulates getting on our skin, obviously is goes without saying. But washing your hands, especially on scene, a lot of times, I don't know if your department does, we're trying to get into like doing our scene decon where even if we're just wiping gross contaminants off our hands, wiping your neck, wiping your face and stuff like that, you'd be surprised at how much it comes off. But so we need to be careful on everything that we're if we're going to the bathroom after we go, make sure we're washing your hands and getting all that stuff off, because as soon as you touch yourself or anything like that, it's literally getting absorbed right in. So obviously we know we have through the roof rates for testicular cancer, like 200% of normal population. It's like,
oh wow,
you probably know like guys in your department that maybe even because it's like a 99% recovery rate, because we identify it so early and it doesn't metastasize as quickly, I guess. So there's people in your department that probably have been through it, had it, removed, and or you just never knew about it. But it's such a prevalent thing. So we started so I'm like, all right, I made the decision. Like I'm gonna start a company, and what we're gonna do is protect the groin. We're gonna try to minimize
Sure.
the amount of particulates that get on the groin, whether it's female or male. So I'm like, all right, what's the first design here? How am I gonna do it? And
Yeah.
I was like, I think if we had a cup, it would be kind of twofold. We'd have an impact
Yeah.
protection, and then we'd have particulate protection. So I bought a 3D printer, and yeah, that was a painful 6 months. Let me tell you that, because I
Yeah.
basically 3D printed our first cup, 9 alarm cup. I still have it upstairs. And I tried to fit it into the underwear on shift, and I'm like, after
Sure.
like, I don't know, must have been 3 months of like, rash and sore, and like like nobody's gonna do this. Like
Right.
this ain't gonna happen. So right around that time, there was the Steady Air Prevent fabric that was coming out for the hoods,
Okay.
and so I kind of had an epiphany. I'm like, oh, that's it. I can use that. It'll be particulate resistant. It'll be, I can integrate that right in. It's gonna be, I can market it like the hood. It's just gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
So kind of getting back to when I started meeting with Diane, we started talking about PFAS and stuff like that. I bought like thousands and thousands of, I'm all in, right? So I got the LLC. I went actually, sorry, it was an S corp. Did all this stuff, laid all the groundwork, designs. And I don't know if you know, but trying to design and manufacture a product is super hard, super expensive.
I can only imagine.
Like, it's like if you want to design your own underwear, even just think like, oh, it's just underwear, right? Just
Right.
a shirt. No, there's like sizing. There's like just fabric. What fabrics are going to use? Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. And I
That would
wanted
be.
it to be, close to the NFPA standards as well, because I didn't want to be too far off in case we were going to certify it.
Right. And that's the
Down-
NFPA 71, right? 1971.
Yeah, so 1971, actually 1975 is for station wear, I think it is.
Okay.
Which is all changing actually in 2024. It's going to be NFPA 1970, which you can actually
Right. It's
look
all
up a
being
little.
squished together.
Right, which we're ahead of the curve, because
Mhm.
the way they're going to be flowing down base layers and station wear, there's going to be sections that companies can kind of certify to. So whether
Okay.
it be particulates, bacteria, moisture, they want to see garments that are, honestly, I don't think we're the first ones to test undergarments for particulates
Okay.
that I know of.
Right.
So
First one
if
I've heard of.
Yeah, so like for your shirts, that's our second line product is our Defender shirt, which we're really trying to ramp up. But so we're the first ones to test the shirt for particulates, moisture, and by virtue is bacterial resistant. So those will all be
Gotcha.
flow down in the new standard, which like I said, will be ahead of the curve a little bit. But yeah, so Diane and I started this conversation. I already had bought all this fabric and all this stuff, thousands of dollars. That was like my credit card here, and this, my business partner, who's like my best friend. I convinced him like, we got to do this. This is for firefighters. This is a great thing, and he's a very skilled marketing entrepreneur and businessman.
Okay.
So he took a chance on me too. Like he was like, I believe in you. I believe in this. I want to do good for firefighters. This is a good mission. It fits.
Yeah.
So he made a small investment at that point, and again we just went all in. Like this is everything fits.
Right.
Everything's good. I did lay the work for the R&D and got the designs and fitted, and then along comes Diane, and I'm like, hey Diane, how are you doing? Whatever. We had these conversations, and she's talking about PFAS. I'm like, the hell is PFAS?
Right.
Which we could probably do a whole nother segment on, but basically it's a I think it's like they call it like a C8 or C6 or C8 polymer that polyfluoroalkyl substance. Basically, this stuff gets into our our bodies, and we can't metabolize it out. So it like gets in there, gets into our cells, and like converts our cells to cancerous cells. Just makes a mess. We can't metabolize it. We can't get it out of us. Initially, companies were like, oh well, it was the old PFOAs that the government, again within the foams and all that stuff, like the government said no, we can't use it. That was C4. The new C8 stuff is too big to get into your body. The polymer chains, like it's there's no worries. You're good.
Okay.
And that's
so we're talking like at a microscopic level.
Oh yeah. Very microscopic level. And again, we could probably do a whole nother segment on that, but.
Right.
So Diane and I, we're having these conversations like, hey, I really, I'm doing this thing, you're doing that. Like, I want to send you all my, because from a standpoint of getting somebody to like, almost put their stamp of approval on, right? Like, she was already talking to like, all the big players, senators. Like, she already had like Graham Peasley, who's a scientist out of Notre Dame, who actually tested some of our original designs and fabrics and stuff like that we still use.
Okay.
So she had a lot of people that was like she was networking with. So we wanted to get our stamp of approval. Like, hey, check this out.
So at this point, has Diane's film Burned come out?
No. This was years later. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Diane does have a film called Burned.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a very good documentary on the PFAS, and I'll make sure I link to that. It's not easy to get a hold of. You got to get a license and whatever, but
for departments, you should be able to go to the lastcallfoundation.org, and there should be a link on there. If there's any issues, you could email me. I can put you in direct contact with Diane or Kathy, or even Jason Burns, who's the executive director over there.
Okay.
We'll make sure they want to see people watching it and get the message out. Which we actually, when they did the Hanover Theater in Worcester, we actually did a silver package sponsorship. I'm so proud to be able to kind of go back and give back to the foundation, and because the Last Call Foundation kind of put it on, and I think proceeds went to the Last Call Foundation, something to that effect. But they were a big partner in getting that premiere in Worcester, which is obviously where Paul was from. So it just felt really good to kind of go in full circle. But anyways, so Diane and I were talking about the designs, and I sent her over all of our specs, and she's like, "Oh, Levi." I'm like, "Oh God, this isn't good." She's like, "You can't use this fabric." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, this is what is in all of our hoods. Like, it's Steady Air Prevent. It's this is everywhere." She's like,
"It's gonna work.
It's gonna work." No, it has Teflon in it. I'm like, okay, I've worked with Teflon in my PCB days for, all the time. Like, okay, Teflon, so what? Yeah, with Teflon, and during the processing of Teflon, they have to, and the makeup, it has PFAS in it.
Oh, geez.
Which I don't think a lot of people know that depending on the hood, it's not all hoods, but depending on the hood manufacturer, and the way they manufacture it, I guess it kind of heightens the risk. I have a particular blocking hood that has I think it might be the Gore-Tex version of it's still a Teflon base, I believe, but it's more insulated. But the original hood that I had, I don't really like to talk about other products, I guess, but it was a gray hood that the Teflon was literally right in your neck. You almost felt a little funny when you're wearing it. You literally have Teflon right on your neck when you're heating up, and we always say protect the neck and the nuts. That stuff is just getting absorbed right into our, So how many people actually, we did our life scans last year. We had two members of our department that had thyroid, either precancerous or cancerous cells.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, who knows, like, how this stuff kind of transpires and gets absorbed or whatever. So it was back to the drawing boards for us, and we had to. So at that point, I had made the kind of I have networked with Diane and worked with Graham Peasley from um, from Notre Dame, and Dr. Graham Peasley. So, and Diane really loved the mission. She loved what we were trying to do, and she thought that there's a lot of benefit, and she's seen it, and she's like, yes, this is good. This is the contact for somebody that can help you test for fluorine. And
Nice.
so if you find the fabric that doesn't have the PFAS in it, we're on board. We're there. We want to help you. So
Awesome.
it was another painstaking year of trying to find fabric and something that didn't have PFAS in it. Like everything has,
Right.
and honestly, in the environment, everything has PFAS. It's the amount of, nothing can be really. I mean, it has to be such a perfectly clean process to
Right.
not have any PFAS, right? So
Sure. It's the dose that makes the poison, right?
exactly. So we ended up coming up with a fabric. Actually had a third party test it, and
Okay.
Met all of our benchmarks. I had Graham actually tested some of the base layer fabrics and the particulate blocker that we use. We had it third party tested, so
Nice.
we had all the stuff, and so we were excited about that. Like we finally had what we were going to use, and had it tested, and it did all the things, checked all the boxes, and then I started thinking like, all right, so how can we get this out there? Like how are we best going to market it? How are we going to?
Right.
This is a tough crowd, right?
And this is the brief, right?
This is This is the Defender brief. Yep. And basically, the particular blocking area is just in the groin, like the hip and the butt area are just regular fabric.
Okay.
Because we found, I think our next generation of products it's gonna be, the whole garment will be particulate resistant,
Nice.
not particulate blocking. So I think that there's some terminology, and even within the next NFPA standards, I don't know if they'll kind of spell it out.
Sure.
But anyways,
They'll define some stuff, I'm sure.
yeah. So we're trying to figure out how to market it and stuff like that. And I was like on Facebook one day. So our manufacturer is in Fall River, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And which is known for like its seamstresses, and like they've been around for a long time doing this work. They're really good at it. These are the people you want, designing and getting your product to market. So I was like, I gotta find a firefighter out there. Like, there's got to be somebody that I can network with or whatever.
Right.
So I'm on Facebook, like searching, Fall River Fire or whatever, and I come up with Jason Burns, who happens to be like the pioneer, like alongside of Diane, as an advocate for getting PFAS out of the gear, like not wearing hoods and gear when for trainings that you don't need it, or just keep this stuff off your skin as much as you can.
Yeah,
Wear
no
it when you
fire,
need to
no
wear it.
PPE, or no fire, no
Exactly.
turnouts.
Right, exactly. So this just trying to take it to the next step. He was the first one to kind of
Okay.
bring that to the forefront, and just so happens that like I meet up with him and like, hey, and he's actually a hometown Fall River kid, like loves the community, like wants to do more for the community. I'm like, hey, I got this product, and actually Diane kind of gave me a hint, like, hey, you might be able to get a grant through the Last Call Foundation.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh, who's the Last Call Foundation or whatever? So I kind of like did a little research on that, and I kind of like was right in that transitional point where like I needed a champion department, and possibly could get this grant.
Yeah.
At the time I didn't, obviously I heard the Last Call Foundation and I did my own research, but I had no idea like how it would tie everything back in. So it kind of became like eye-opening afterwards. Getting back to Mike and his tragic death, and then
Yeah.
us getting this grant and kind of setting the stage. I almost felt like this isn't mine. Like, this is Mike's. Like, this is a mission
Yeah.
that I was kind of given, and that's why I
Yeah.
try to treat it all the time. Like, this is not mine. This is Mike's, and or the brothers and sisters that are not here or have suffered.
Mhm.
That's the
Sounds like the
mission behind
universe is working through you.
it. Possibly.
So, can you tell me a little bit more about the foundation,
Yeah.
the
So
Last Call Foundation?
Yeah. The Last Call Foundation, again, founded based on that Back Bay tragedy. They
Yep.
do. I think it's the Boston Marathon is their major funding source.
Okay.
They and also any donations. So anybody on here, obviously, consider checking them out. Look at
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
some of they do. Anybody. So I'd have to look at the exact criteria for their uh, the grants, but it's basically science, technology, anything that benefits like health and wellness, science, technology, to prevent injury or illness, obviously occupational death. So there's a bunch of things on there, and you can kind of,
Awesome.
depending on what the department needs,
Yeah.
they have done some great things over the last, again, almost 10 years. So yeah, check them out. They again, even with the PFAS movement, they've done a lot with the Burn Premier and supporting
Yeah.
Diane and her mission. I think Diane and Kathy are very close, which is a great friendship because these people are really working for us as firefighters. You have no idea the amount of work that has gone into getting safe gear. And the work that is done
Yeah.
to laying that groundwork to identify that our gear wasn't safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Graham was testing brand new gear right off the line. I won't say the manufacturer, but
Sure.
literally was the markers for PFAS and chemicals that were in there it's astounding. Like, it was like off the chart. So to literally just soak in this stuff. And what PFAS does, just to kind of take a step back, Teflon is a very resistant fabric, and PFAS actually, and depending on how they apply it, if you think of like a non-stick pan, it just
Yeah,
it really prolongs the life of the gear. So we're at that point now. Some of this PFAS-free gear you might find doesn't hold up as well, or might stain easier. So there's going to be a transitional point over the next few years where we're trying to find that replacement product
Mhm.
while we take the PFAS out, because we know PFAS is injuring us and ultimately could be killing us. So so the foundation really has supported that mission. You can go on their website and find all their grants. I would strongly recommend checking them out.
Yeah.
Great organization, can't say enough about them, and giving us a shot through the Fall River Fire Department, who was was the first grant. And again, we just kind of took a shot. Talked to Jason. We went up to the manufacturing facility. I walked him around. We had a small lot in production, so I just really wanted him to feel like this was his. Like, this is your backyard. This fits your mission, everything. And he just is like, yeah, I'm in. This is great. I love it. Everything is here. So we kind of started a good friendship there. He's been an advocate. We end up outfitting the Fall River Fire Department.
Oh,
it was
nice.
In 2022, full outfit. It was 400 plus pairs, I think it was.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's
that was,
awesome.
and they're actually into their like last couple pairs. They give them to their recruits. So coming in
Okay.
again, getting back to the educational thing.
Yeah.
They do a lot with their new recruits. They come in, they talk to them about their cancer risk reduction, and issue them their defender briefs for, as they transition into their full-time role or whatever. Part of their layer of protection. So it was pretty exciting, and I talked to the training officer about that too. It was just kind of like I had an epiphany moment. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool that I'm actually doing this.
Heck yeah. I mean, you're providing a piece of equipment the frontline firefighters who need it, and this could protect. You're proactively trying to prevent something that we know
Right.
exists, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
do you have any other like small steps that we can take as firemen that's going to help us? I know we have the option to
Yeah.
wear, uh, garments, but what else can we do? What are a couple other small steps we can take?
I've I would say going back to my call firefighter days. Like
Yeah,
I was again. I'd be the first one in there. No, if I didn't feel like I needed a mask, then I had the mask on, pulling
right.
ceilings and doing whatever it is. Like I'll be fine. Like I'm
Sure.
not if I can breathe, I'm good type of thing. I don't want to say I'm
Yeah.
a smoke eater or anything like that, but it's
Right.
just I just like if I feel like I need to wear it, I'll wear whatever. I never really
I think that's pretty
thought about
common.
yeah, I never really thought of like wiping my skin or my hands or anything like that. Getting that soot off. Like I didn't really
Hmm.
know about the soot and like building materials, like the
Sure.
byproducts of combustion with building materials and stuff like that. So that's kind of came with that. Actually, it's almost 18 years of experience. I'm still a student every day.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I would say that obviously the first thing and maybe most important is wearing the SCBA IDLH. And really, when you say IDLH, that's like you're in the hot zone, you're in and around the fire ground. Unless you're, you know, I know it's hard, like because you want to be able to conserve your air. You want to make sure there's a lot of things that happens, but wear your SCBA as much as possible, as in all environments. The second thing really is wiping the skin.
Okay.
I was able to implement the scene decon buckets, which we actually have a.
Yeah.
We can post that as well. We have like a little outline and an SOG, like like what you need for your kit and like an SOG.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah, and we just
We'll share that
there's
with
some
everybody.
yeah, there's something we've kind of threw together, but it's just like sometimes if you don't have to do the work, like if it's like all right, I can just grab this and like I do it all
Yeah.
the time. I can grab this piece here and grab that, implement it. Like it's like somebody's already done the work, then why repeat it?
Right.
But
It's just as easy as grabbing a bag of chips, right? Like if there's a bag of
Exactly.
chips in the pantry,
Exactly.
you're gonna grab them. If there's a
Exactly.
decon bucket on the truck, you'll probably use it.
Right, exactly. And well, so what I found really, well, I had that integrated into our department, and
Yeah.
there's still some resilience, resistance to it. So it's like I don't like we don't want to like the culture still doesn't want to be seen as weak or any kind of weakness. Like, and I feel
Yeah.
like if you that's kind of where we see some of our problems with marketing and getting really a good foothold into our market
Hmm.
is the culture is like, we're not really want to show any kind of weakness. And if we buy products that kind of um, by virtue signal like that there's some kind of could be some kind of problem or cancer or something like that. Like we're not ready for that yet. So
Right.
there
We're getting
was a
there,
little
though, I think.
yeah, we're getting there. Yeah. So there's a little resistance, but I think really is what I can say. Lead by example, right? Like sometimes,
Yes.
like it just takes you to be consistent, and if you're like the hardest working firefighter, or like you're just always on that same mission, like, and as a firefighter or paramedic or whatever, we should be on that mission every day. We should come to work and like you are on a mission. I'm on a mission to save life, preserve property, and like this, like you should be on it every single day, and you should practice your skill, hone your craft to
Yeah.
beat that. And so and that's helping your brothers and sisters too. So if you're on the scene, you're wiping your skin, you're doing all the right things. It may
Yeah.
not be popular at the moment, but they see you doing it all over and over again. Somebody's going to pick it up. Once you get one, you get two, you get three, then you have your department. So it's a cultural thing that we need to continue to change. But I would say SCBA, wiping your skin, and these are obviously nothing that's like we came up with. This is something that's the service overall is identified that we
Yeah.
should be doing.
Yep. Simple stuff.
Exactly. Wearing obviously base layers, like protective base layers. Obviously, our products fit in that, so I think that's an important piece.
Yep.
Before you put your gear on, you're already you're already starting to protect yourself. You're wearing particulate resistant, moisture resistant clothing.
Okay.
I still see a lot of people wearing polyester. I don't know why, but I wouldn't.
Right.
Even polyester pants. Like when it happens, when you get into that situation, like this captain here that we were talking about earlier is like, you just never know. And if he actually said if he wasn't wearing a particulate hood and wearing cotton base layers, and so he's in charge of that now. He will not allow anything other than cotton.
Really?
For shirts and pants. No, you ain't wearing it in Manchester. You gotta wear cotton. No polyester for sure.
Wow. Interesting.
So just again, be careful with the base layers that you're wearing. If you have an opportunity to wear particulate base layers, obviously it's going to be beneficial to you. And obviously getting back to the station, getting the shower, getting all the rest of the soot off of you. Make sure you wash your hands. Like this got to be the first thing you do when you get back to the station is wash your hands. Because what do we always want to do? We're in our gear for 2 hours. We want to go to the bathroom. Especially as older folks, we typically run to the bathroom and whatever. Got to wash your hands before you go. Right. You go to the bathroom. It's so important because that stuff is on your hands. Probably more so than any part of your gear. You're handling this stuff. Wash your hands before you go to the bathroom. Take a shower. And make sure that some of the, I guess, the precursor to this is having policies and procedures in place that support all of that mission. So if you're, if your SOG doesn't have, for the officers to say, hey, we need scene decon or, allow for backstaffing the engine until, they have a chance to shower and get in service, then, it's not going to work. Everything has to, from the top down, has to work to the benefit of our health and wellness of our firefighters. If we're not all committed to it, there's weak links in the chain that's going to break, and we're not going to do it. I found that over the course of the years as well. And then really just having a healthy lifestyle, which I got on the scale this morning. I got to tell you, I was pretty sad. Even though I was right after Thanksgiving, I told my wife, I'm like, remember that time about a month ago when I was overweight at like 190 pounds? I'm like, I'm 204 this morning. I'm like, it's time.
Whoops.
It's time. No more turkey. No more candy. I was actually working out this morning. I just got to get back. And it's how do we stay on task too? It's so hard, especially over the course of 10, 20, 30 years. You gotta. It's so important to keep your body, healthy and having a healthy lifestyle. I struggle with that time to time. It's like you just have to get back on track and stay on track. You fall off, it's fine. Get back on and keep going. Yeah, because that's all just supportive to, our good metabolism and just healthy eating and all that stuff. So I think those are some of the major things. And what I always try to say when I do the educational thing is because we say culture, and everything is like words and like subliminal sometimes. Like we say culture of safety. Well, that's a big thing that we like to try to say. And if everything that we do during the course of our career, you're like putting that time into your retirement savings. It's everything. First day on the job, the chief was like, "All right, we got to talk about your retirement." Like, retirement? Like, I'm ready to go fight fires. No, retirement's most important. So while we want to put the money in to get the most percentage out of our retirement, we should also be focusing on the time that we're going to have during retirement. So if we don't put these little, again, like you're wearing your hood today, you wore your SCBA, you did your base lay, you did all these things, well, that's time you put into your retirement. And that's not just for us, it's for our families. They rely on us, they need us. Yeah, exactly.
You want to be there, right?
Exactly. So I think that's a cultural thing that it's hard at times, but I think we just need to continue mapping that road for these younger firefighters. And I think it's really kind of hitting home with them a little bit. But we got to, as leaders in the fire service and the senior men and women, like you gotta take that mission on too, because they look up to you so much. Like you can't just be that slug on the couch and just like it doesn't matter or whatever and this
Right.
and that and whatever. You gotta be that understand that the service needs to change, and it has changed for all of us over the course of our career. We have to look out for the next generation of firefighters, and lay the groundwork for them. So that's something I don't do it great all the time, but I try to do the best I can.
And I think that's important, is leading by example, and you're taking your responsibility to lead your life, and I think leading by example is huge, because that shows self-leadership. It's not about the guy next to you so much as it is about doing for you, and maybe that might get misconstrued as it's not about the team, but it is about the team. But in order for the team to get better, you or me, we have to take those steps. We have to do the small things. We have to wash our hands. We have to go to bed early. We have to stay hydrated. We have to use the wipes on scene. We have to, we have to do our diligence to be the leader, even if you're not in the front seat. My buddy Josh Chase says you don't need bugles to be a leader. And, he's so right, because taking these small steps that are going to advance our career, put more time in our retirement account, right? Not just money, but time, right? Yep. We're getting time back every time we wipe our face, clean our gear, wash our hands, go to bed early, stay hydrated. So I think you're definitely on the right track with that.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's something that I think a lot of. Again, I'm not going to claim that I'm the first to say some of these things, but it's I think it should be reiterated, and it should be if you get any kind of platform to talk about it, I think that 100%. Should be right up there as a like you said, you have what do they call it, like official and unofficial leaders, or sometimes those unofficial leaders, those, even if it's not the senior men, it's you have a platform that you don't really know, and usually the way you know is if you're on the right track, you almost feel like you're not part of like the team sometimes. Like you might be outside, might be outside the team, because, and not saying that the team's on the wrong track, but you might be on a different track and trying to lead the team or trying to give another perspective. So, and that's kind of, I guess I feel like that sometimes, like, I might not feel like, on the fire ground, I'm part of the team, and I hope that for sure. everybody else can look to me and say, he knows what he's doing. I can trust him getting on the roof. Do whatever it is, the task, he's going to get it done. He's a team player. It's going to happen. But on the sideline, when it's whatever day-to-day stuff,
when we're back in the house,
you might not see me. It might be in a different situation. Like I might be, again, it's just I'm trying to set the bar in my own way on another, and hopefully having that perspective relayed down in a positive way to other members of the department or whatever. So I just don't. I'm a leader. I don't follow at all. I always try to take that baton and just take it to the next step. And where can it go? How can I make it better? How do I leave it better? And that's really a mission behind me personally. Is like, this is giving me so much. I owe it that I have to give back, and I have to leave it better than I found it. I know that sounds cliche, and it's said many times before, but it really does ring home to me, and that I do want to do that. And I think this, the 9-alarm business has given me that opportunity, give me a little bit of a platform, be able to talk to some people, and I'm trying to get it to where it needs to be. I do need help of the brothers and sisters of the fire service to recognize that there is a benefit to what I'm trying to do, and to quote unquote buy into the product and the mission, so we can make it a sustainable business where we have opportunities to down the road either create a trust or something like that where firefighters and families or whatever the case may be would be able to come to us, and we'd be able to help out in that aspect too. The mission of our mission statement, I'll say, is reflects that specifically, that we're trying to innovate products to help and protect our firefighters, and that we are committed to making the fire service better. So any way we can do that, we continue to try to shape that mold and move that forward. So and again, we didn't really get a chance to talk too specific about some of our products, but we have the Defender Brief, which is offered. We have version 1 still on our website, and version 2. So what we found from version 1 to version 2 is, so the hardest part of the design is maintaining thermal regulation. So everybody thermoregulates differently, and everybody wears different types of undergarments. So meeting
I run
all,
cold, so I wear more.
Yeah, so we it, depending on the person, is how do we make a garment to fit everybody, I guess is the way I'm trying to explain it. So we've added basically heat absorbent layers to the version 2 to make it more comfortable over a longer periods.
Okay.
So that was, again, I think it's a great product overall. Version 3 down the road, I think, will be completely different. I think you should always be looking. As soon as you get to that point, you should be looking. Never stay in that lane, right? You always should be looking outside, figuring out the next step. If you're not, then you're not going to succeed. Which is kind of, so we had pretty good success with the Defender Brief, but it was like, how do we get? So I'll say this: firefighters really like free stuff, right? So
yes,
we really like free stuff. We don't like a lot of change, but and I won't say that that's not obviously for everybody, but we typically don't like change, but if you're going to give it to me for free, then that's great. So the grants obviously helped out, and we were successful with a lot of that. We have a lot of one-off sales, but a lot of those sales come from significant others. We have the wives, the mothers, the girlfriends, or whatever. Those are a major part of our customers. So it was like, how do we get to firefighters? What's it going to be the best way? And that's when we started the plans for the Defender shirt, which I think was key to our success, because we had to find a way to get to the clothing allowance and get to firefighters something that we have to we typically wear all the time anyways is our t-shirt. So if we could modify our t-shirts so that they're particulate resistant, moisture resistant, and bacterial resistant, like all around, that would be just a win-win. We're protecting the torso, and obviously
armpits,
armpits, everything, right? Yeah. So we started from scratch with that. We're like, all right, so how are we going to do this, and how is this going to work? And we end up finding a product that we're able to apply to the t-shirt. It's similar to like a fabric protector, but it's kind of our proprietary process. It makes it so it's particulate and moisture resistant.
Nice.
So and there's obviously a lot of. I wanted to make sure that I didn't want to just buy fabric and buy shirts from China or Asia or wherever.
Right.
Nothing against them, but I wanted to be I thought it'd be a lot more.
It's okay. It can be against them.
We again, this is kind of my character. I just humble. I don't
I know.
Anybody.
I'm just
until it's time to be offended. Then I'm gonna then whatever. I tell my kids, like, don't make the bad guy come out, please. Don't make the bad guy come out. So I wanted cotton that was grown in the United States, if at all possible, or it
Sure.
has to be regulated cotton. I don't want something that's just grown in, like, because cotton is actually one of the dirtiest fabrics you can, because they mass produce it, they spray with all kinds of pesticides, and literally you
Sure.
buy, this stuff comes from the print shop. A lot of times just you don't wash it, you put it right on, and then if you wash it, it gets
Right.
in contaminating all your other clothes. It's like, it's
Yeah.
just, if you really think about it, like it's a really dirty fabric, and they mass produce it in Asia and all that, whatever. So I wanted a fabric that was grown in the United States, which actually we do have cotton farms in Texas. So I was like, all right, let's figure this all out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had it. I was able to make a contact down in North Carolina who sources fabric or actual cotton from the mills down in Texas,
Okay.
and they have they actually weave all the fabric into rolls, and then he has just all of that whole networking process, and then we
Yeah.
figured out the dye that we wanted to use and like the actual color. Like it was a pretty cool process.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, yeah. So then we got all of our fabric coated, and then we sent it out for testing. And my goal was to be between 50 to 80% particulate resistant for particulates down to 0.1 microns. To put that
Okay.
into perspective, the NFPA 1971 2018 edition standard
Right.
says to meet the particulate portion of that standard, you need to block particulates down to 0.1 microns at 90% efficiency. So I didn't want to be like 90 to 100 because obviously that's reducing the amount of thermal regulation. Like you want it to be cool. You don't want it to be like so protective that it just feels
Right.
like
That it.
a board. They weren't. It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought
You
the
want to wear it.
Exactly. So we set the threshold from 50 to 80%, and we hit it right at the median at 70%.
Oh, nice.
So I was super excited about that. Like we were like first, pretty much a first pass, and this is after conditioning too. So we did we did 300 wash cycles.
Okay.
And it had no effect. It was like almost like you were testing a virgin fabric with the coating right on it, and then
Oh,
from
nice.
300 wash cycles. It was very little change. So we took that, and then we had it. So I tested it. Then I sent it out for PFAS testing. Because
Okay.
obviously that's one of the most important things too. And this is after all of those processes. So like from manufacturing, from growing in Texas to the dyeing processes and all these processes leading up to the end result, and they're non-detected for PFAS. So it was super
That's
exciting.
awesome.
We basically where we're at right now, because obviously it's very expensive to manufacture any kind of products in the United States. So we're trying to get some pre-orders to at least. So the minimum manufacturing lot size is 500 units.
Right.
So we'd like to get 150, 200 units. That way, there we know like the fire service is kind of buying into it. We know we're not
Sure.
going to just waste our money. You know what I mean? So it definitely would be huge if we get support from our brothers and sisters out there. Again, basically what you'll get. And if we do lot sizes 25 or greater, we can mark both sides. And
So what are you marking them with? Because I know at my department, if our emblems and such start to
Yeah.
crack and fade, that means we got to get rid of the shirt.
Yeah. So we right now, I mean, I could pretty much do whatever. It's just like a blanket. Yeah, it's like a canvas. So if somebody wanted embroidery,
Okay.
I could send it out, have it embroidered. But
Right.
and obviously putting ink on it, there will be a disclaimer. Like we want people to buy
right.
just the shirt. But if you put
Right.
an ink marking on it, which usually is required under the uniform policy, that those areas would be voiding the testing and whatever. There would be a disclaimer.
No, that
Like,
makes sense.
So, but we can market both sides and be in the area of $50 a shirt, which
Okay.
is pretty reasonable if you think about it. Like actually, if you were to get like a pretty high end T-shirt and have it marked both sides,
Yeah.
you'd probably be in the area of 30 something. So and there's not a ton of profit on that side. It's enough to, again, if I can get it larger lots, it's worth it. But
Right. So we
it's
need more
less,
people to order it.
exactly.
Where can we
So
go to get that ordered?
you can contact me directly through email, or actually, it might be easiest just to go on our website, the Nine Alarm, NINE alarm.com.
Ninealarm.com. Cool.
Yeah, you can message us and we'll get back to you. We can work out. I'm pretty reasonable too. If you're like, hey, we got a 200-man department. We need 4 shirts every year. That, whatever. This is what we do. Which actually, we're hoping that Springfield Fire Department, our third biggest department here in Massachusetts, they do that. They buy 4 shirts every year, and we've already been talks with them. Like, hey, this is a benefit to you. And actually, the Last Call Foundation actually granted them. We're doing a full department outfit with them for the briefs.
Oh,
so
sweet.
That was 540 pairs.
Jeez, that's a lot of underwear.
It is a lot of underwear, a lot of packing.
I bet. So we can find you at Facebook too, right? 9 Alarm Apparel, right?
Yep.
And then you're on X, right? That's Twitter, right?
I think it's Twitter, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
At alarm_apparel, and then Instagram at 9alarm apparel, all spelled out.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Cool.
And we try to, keep that updated as much as possible.
Heck yeah.
I'm kind of a one-man show at this point.
Sure.
So
I get that.
Yeah, it's small business is hard to sustain these days.
Yeah.
But we, again, I think down the road this is going to be mandated.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so like the hoods right now in the next cycle, I think they're the one they're finishing up in 2024. The particular hoods are going to be mandated.
Nice.
I think down the road, we're just a little bit ahead of the curve. So we're trying to kind of maintain there until everything changes, and then we're really the first ones to market with any of this stuff.
Heck yeah.
And it's exciting, and it can be frustrating, can be tiresome, and we just have to pick up the pieces sometimes and keep moving forward. We know that in the long run we're doing the right thing for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And that the outcome, hopefully 10, 15 years from now, is that even if we reduce the rates of cancer by 1 or 2 points, those equate to people and families, and
yep.
That's what a life's work that would be to and another thing that we have offered to the fire service as a whole, again, leaving it better than we found it. That
right.
would be a great thing. So I just I hope it continues to move forward, and we get we've been getting some traction. So
good.
Again, I gotta hit that threshold, like 150
okay
pre-orders, and then we'll be ready to go for manufacturing. Hopefully there may be an opportunity too with the Last Call Foundation. I'm not sure. I think Springfield is talking about, and there's other departments that were talking about the shirts, and maybe approaching them on a grant for that too. So we'll see how that all plays out, and we'll be right there to try to support any of those departments and getting the grants and filing them. We've got some pretty good experience with writing grants and stuff
cool.
like that. So any kind of questions or from SOGs or anything we can help with on this topic, or somebody you need to network with on the PFAS movement, or finding gear that kind of meets the mission, like the PFAS free stuff, or any questions like that. We have some experience with that stuff too, so we can direct any kind of questions. I'd love to get questions. I get emails on somebody like, hey, actually a lieutenant or something in Poland the other day was like, hey, we have the same problems over here, and what's your thought on this? And like, oh, we're interested in that. So we have shipped products all over the world. It's
awesome.
It's pretty pretty humbling, I would say. Is like when you have products in Australia and Europe and
you're a
Canada.
global company now.
Yeah, a global company.
Let's go, Levi.
That's right. That's right. So we're trying. It's a
don't stop trying, man.
Yeah.
You guys are kicking major butt. And, everybody out there listening, please feel free to contact Levi. Again, 9alarm.com. Don't forget to check out the Defender brief and shirt. We want to start wearing this particulate protection. We want to start wearing the proper undergarments. Do you have anything else before we let you go, Levi?
No, I mean, I think we've covered quite a bit of stuff, and I hope to get on the podcast again with you and talk about anything else. I think
I got a lot more questions after this, so we'll have to
for sure.
Get back on here and do it again. Well, Levi, on behalf of everybody in the audience, myself included, I really appreciate you making time to come on the podcast today. We're always trying to make the fire service a little bit better. Leaving it better than we found it is one of our key values here. So, again, I thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. And everybody, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe. Check out all our content. We've got a bunch of good shows coming up. And, Levi, I appreciate you coming on today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Chris. This is actually my first podcast, so hopefully I know I'm not as polished as maybe some other people, but it's a learning curve. Yeah, it's fun. I really liked it, and
good.
Hopefully I added some value to your podcast, and we look forward to doing it again.
You absolutely did, sir. Well, I appreciate it. Keep up the good work. We know you're doing your best out there for all of us, so thank you so much. All right, everybody, have a great day. It's been Priority Traffic Podcast. On behalf of Levi and myself, you guys have a great day. Talk to you soon. As all great things do, this episode of Priority Traffic Podcast has come to an end. And from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to express my gratitude for your time and attention. Your support and feedback help the show to continually improve our content and to bring you the best possible experience. If you found value in today's discussion and it has challenged your current practices, we encourage you to share this episode with your colleagues and friends. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Priority Traffic Podcast on our various channels to stay up to date with our latest of shows. At Priority Traffic, we strongly believe that prioritizing wellness is the foundation of long-term high performance. By taking care of ourselves both physically and mentally, we can unlock our full potential and achieve greatness. We are honored to be a part of your journey towards self-mastery and grateful for you being here with us today. Remember, together we can prioritize wellness and realize the performance we deserve. Thank you for listening to Priority Traffic Podcast, and until next time, stay safe and stay committed to your well-being.